Case concerning the territorial dispute, Libya versus Chad. ICJ reports, 1994. The facts of the case are as follows. The Strip is a narrow piece of land located on the border between Chad and Libya. Although the Strip is both economically and militarily valueless, Chad and Libya became embroiled in conflict over the location of their common border and title to the Strip after Libya's independence from Italian colonial rule and Chad's independence from French colonial rule. Chad argued that the border was established by the 1955 Treaty of Friendship and Good Neighborliness between Libya and France, in which Libya acquiesced to France's claims regarding the borders of Libya's African colonial possessions. Libya contended that the treaty was invalid, arguing that Libya's king had been coerced into signing the treaty and that the treaty did not recognize the Chad-Libya border at all. The treaty did not contain provisions allowing either party to terminate the treaty after 20 years. Diplomatic negotiations broke down after Libya set up a military occupation of the Strip. Libya then invaded and occupied Chad, including land both inside and outside the Strip. In 1983, with Libya still occupying the Strip, the Chad government asked the United Nations Security Council to require Libya's withdrawal. In 1989, after 2 more years of negotiations, the Chad and Libya agreed to resolve the border dispute within 1 year using political methods. Chad and Libya also agreed to submit the dispute to the International Court of Justice for a decision if they failed. After failed negotiations, Chad and Libya called upon the ICJ to determine their shared border. The issue in this case that with respect to a border dispute under international law, will a prior treaty between the parties that outline the border's location govern the outcome. The court held in the positive an international treaty between 2 parties setting forth land boundaries will govern the outcome if a dispute regarding the relevant land later develops. If a treaty fixes a boundary, the boundary exists regardless of the treaty's future existence. To achieve the important and fundamental goal of boundary stability that is so often recognized by the ICJ, the boundaries created in these agreements must remain permanently. Here, the treaty established a boundary between Chad and Libya and the location of that boundary. Later agreements did not successfully revoke or amend the border as set forth in the treaty.